Today, on Dr. T's Cookbook of Awesomeness, we're making taco pie. That's right, leave it up to us Midwesterners to combine tacos and cornbread into a hot dish. Let's go make something awesome. To start off our taco pie, we're going to zhuzh up our box mix with some jalapeno, some shredded cheddar cheese, some frozen corn. Then we've got some sour cream. Of course, our box mix, which requires an egg and some milk. And then we've got some honey. And this might be pretty obvious, but we're just basically going to put everything together in a big mixing bowl and mix them together. So starting off with our box corn muffin mix, we'll add in that one egg. Just get it right in there. Here's a little better view for you. And then we're just going to systematically add the rest of our ingredients and then give them a good mixy mix. Before I add in the rest of our extras here, the jalapeno, the cheese, the corn, I'm just going to give this a cursory mix to make sure that the main ingredients have been well incorporated into a consistent blend. Now we'll just go ahead, dump in the corn, the cheese, the jalapeno, and then we'll give that all a little bit of a mix. As you can see here, I'm just folding everything in here together and not over mixing the batter. At this point, we're ready to put our batter into a nice preheated cast iron skillet. This is about a 12-inch skillet. I preheated it on the stovetop and put a couple tablespoons of butter and got that all nice and melty. We've made sure that the entire bottom and part of the sides there are well lubed up so that nothing sticks and so that we get a nice even browning all the way around on the bottom of our cornbread. Now I'll just make sure that everything's in a nice even layer before we toss it into the oven, cooking it to package instructions about 20 minutes or so at 425, I think. While we're waiting for that cornbread to finish, let's brown up that hamburger. Once it's been browned, go ahead and drain off that excess fat. Returning it to the stovetop, we're gonna season this meat up, starting off with a little bit of heat. Some crushed red pepper flake. You can also use cayenne pepper if you like, or just use some fresh chilies like jalapeno or serranos or whatever that you fancy. Here's a little oregano. You can use Mexican oregano if you find it in your store. Just a little bit of that. Some coriander. This is optional too, but I find coriander gives a little bit of brightness. Just a couple pinches. Next, some granulated garlic powder. And again, you can use fresh garlic here. Tonight's a little lazy night. I didn't want to chop up any garlic or onion. So instead, we're going to use the granulated garlic and onion. But again, fresh is usually a little bit better. But in a pinch, this works just fine. And a little bit of chili powder. Next up, we have some ground cumin. And whenever I'm making tacos or burritos or whatever, I usually season the meat with chili powder, ground cumin, and paprika. Those are the three main ingredients. With most Southwestern or Mexican type cooking, I use those a lot. And of course, we can't forget some freshly ground pepper and a couple pinches of coarsely ground kosher salt. After letting everything mix together and warm through a little bit, I'm going to add in the last ingredient here, which is just some diced tomatoes and chilies, right from the can, and we'll just mix that all together. Again, this is kind of another optional ingredient, however you like your taco meat to taste. Go ahead and add whatever extra vegetables you like. But for me, just opening a can of diced tomatoes and chilies, it's pretty easy, adds a lot of flavor and a lot of body and substance to the meat. And then we're just gonna mix everything up, make sure it's all well incorporated, and just let it simmer a little bit on the stovetop and let that juice kind of cook down and create a kind of thicker consistency with everything. Our cornbread is done. We used a little tester to make sure that it was done all the way through. And now we're gonna do my favorite part, which is coating this with this store-bought enchilada sauce. Now before we pour this on, we're just going to use this chopstick and make a bunch of holes so that the sauce can seep down into the cornbread. So you get this that nice tangy chili flavor all the way through and not just on top as a layer. Now we're just gonna pour this chili sauce all the way around into those holes. I really like to get it around the edges because it seeps in between the cornbread and the pan, and when we pop it back in the oven, it gets this nice little crispy enchilada sauce pieces that are really tasty. Next, I'm going to put on a layer of refried beans, and I actually didn't have any canned refried beans, so what I did is I sauteed some garlic and onion on the stovetop and added some regular pinto beans from the can, and I sauteed those a little bit and mashed them up with a potato masher, and then I added in some freshly roasted poblano peppers. I took some poblano peppers, roasted them right over the flame on top of my gas range, and then I de-skinned them, chop them up, and add them to my bean mixture. So some homemade refried beans that are from the can, but different than what you'd normally get from the can. A little bit elevated, I guess. I guess it's something most people would call a kitchen hack. Now we're gonna get our cheese on here. I like to use freshly grated cheddar cheese, but go ahead and use whatever cheese that you prefer. If you like maybe a Monterey Jack cheese or a pepper jack type of cheese, go ahead and use that. And now it's time to layer on our taco meat. Just throw it on top and make sure it's in a nice even layer. Then we'll finish it off with some more cheese before we pop it back into the oven. And here's what it looks like fresh out of the oven. It's going to be hot, so make sure that you let it cool down a little bit so everything sets up before you plate it up and top it off. But doesn't that look just delicious? That bubbly goodness, that cheesiness, oh, it's fantastic. Now check out how good this looks when it's dressed up with all the condiments. We've got shredded lettuce, we've got fresh salsa, we've got chips, we've got sour cream, you could throw on some guac, whatever you like. And if you want to find out how to make this salsa along with some other good accoutrements, I'm going to leave a link up top here for you to click on. But this is a nice, easy, 2-skillet recipe. So try it home tonight and let me know what you think in the comments below. But if you've enjoyed this, go ahead, give us a thumbs up and subscribe.